Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday episode this week with Elly Griffith-Ward. Hey, Elly, welcome back.
Hi.
So, Elly, on Wednesdays, we want to focus on change because, of course, it is one of the key aspects of our job. As Scrum Masters, we are involved with change of all kinds all the time. So tell us a story of a change process that you were involved with. Walk us through how it happened, what were the things that were being done, and highlight for us the tools, the tips, the tricks, and the techniques you learned back then that you still apply today.
So, for this example, I'm thinking of an environment where the communication was the issue, right? So we needed better communication out to our stakeholders. They were unhappy because they weren't getting that. They weren't hearing the information we were trying to give them. And then we needed more and better communication within the teams at team level, and that applied for several teams. And then at a sort of like a one-to-one level, that there were a variety of people who I wasn't really able to connect with, and one particular person I'm thinking of who I'd been really struggling to connect with and who was clearly unhappy, right? And was at the heart of some of this. So I really wanted to help this person. So what I did, because I was thinking in terms of communication structure, is I looked at the DISC model, which I'm sure loads of people are familiar with: dominant, influence, conscientiousness, and steadiness. The color model is what other people call it, right? So I use this as a tool to proliferate a new way of thinking about other people, really, within the organization and that particular area.
So a little bit like a tool to empathize, right? To understand this is how other people think or act or, reach conclusions, whatever that might be.
It was intended to be a catalyst for, thinking differently about how other people experience the world and realizing that not everyone sees it the way that you do. And then changing, ideally, getting people to change how they showed up in the workplace in order to be more effective in the things that they wanted to achieve. So, it was just one of a number of techniques that I used as part of this whole process, but it turned out to be the runaway success by a really long way, which is why I'm highlighting it as a particular technique.
So how do you think that became a success? Because, of course, I'm thinking like the DISC model, which is one of the several personality or behavioral models that are applied in a work context, is something that people need to learn. And obviously, one of the first things that comes to mind is if they're not motivated to learn, it doesn't matter how much you talk about it, they're not going to pay attention. Yeah. So how did you get people to pay attention to that model and how it could be useful for them?
So I think what mattered was we did it as a workshop, and we used it as an opportunity to invite people to tell their colleagues how they wanted to be communicated with. How did they want to be treated? How do they want their experience of work to be? So actually, it was just an opportunity to be really honest with each other. It wasn't so much about the communication in the end. It was like, how can you get the best out of me? And that's, I think, where the workshop really works. So I've mentioned Chris Voss in previous episodes, but mainly because I read his book really recently and it stuck with me. When he says, "Don't do unto others as you would be done to. Do unto others as they want to be done to," right? And it was like, oh, right, yeah, actually, I need to talk to this product owner because they're a dominant personality. I need to have a completely different approach.
Absolutely. And one of the things that struck me as you described the workshop and the topic that you designed the workshop around is that it's very easy to motivate people to talk about what they want.
Yes.
right? It's very hard to motivate people to talk about what you want them to talk about. But if you ask them, what do you want in a specific context, right? Like now, how do you want other people to talk to you? Then it's a lot easier to motivate people. And that for me, I think is a great trigger for them to be interested in even learning the model, right?
Yes,
Because,
absolutely.
okay, so let me explain how I want to be treated using this model that we all now learned a little bit about and can use as a common language, right? The shared understanding of how people are and how they react.
Exactly. It's much better, in my opinion, and I've tried a variety of ones. It's better than the Enneagram. It's better than Myers-Briggs, 16 personalities, or any other motivation sort of structures, because there's just fewer things to remember. When you're talking about 16 personalities, I can't remember.
Yeah, you don't even know what they are.
No, I'm not interested in anyone else's either. I'm only interested in mine, right? Whereas with this model, it's so simple and easy to use. And the fun bit was this particular person I'm thinking of who really didn't want to talk and was clearly very unhappy. And I couldn't work out why. I knew she liked Harry Potter. Okay. And I obviously, who doesn't like Harry Potter? It's amazing, right? But I realized that you can completely map the DISC model onto the Harry Potter structure. And once I realized that, I got her involved. She was into design. She's got a brilliant way of thinking about visualizing things. Together, we visualized this beautiful visual of it connected to Harry Potter, which made everyone else start to get interested. You know, instead of doing the DISC quiz on a boring website, they could do the sorting hat quiz, right? Bizarrely, it's always the same. And I don't know how, because the questions are about what's your favorite kind of owl. So how do they do it? I just don't know, but it's always right. So yeah, so that's how it connected to this particular group of people, just sparked in their heads. Then they became interested in talking about the topic. And then so it happened in one team. They started to think about it in a different way. They started talking in a different way, and they started telling everyone about it. These visuals got spread around business, and it would like pop up in different places. Someone in a, like a department really far away that I'd never spoken to would be like, come and do this workshop. We need to do this workshop now. I need to understand how I can talk to my, like external partners or something. I'm like, what? Where does this come from? And that's actually happened in the next business I took it to, because it spread like wildfire again, because people just,
they related to
it. The nerve. Yeah, it really helps, because it does shift up. It's an opportunity to tell people how you want to behave. So I had one guy come in and he said in that meeting, like, I just need everyone to be excited that I've arrived in the morning, because I'm in that influence quadrant. I need people to go like, hey, Ez, you're here, man. I'm so excited you're here. Everything's amazing today because Ez is here. And then if I get that start in the morning, I'm going to be in a great place all day. And we were like, okay, Ez, we'll do that for you. We're excited you're here. We're just all quite low-key people and we haven't had a coffee, but we'll make an effort for you, and it transformed things. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And simple things can really have a big impact once, especially because they come from the people, right? Like they are asking for it, right? It's something that not only are you fulfilling a request, because that was a request, of course, but you're also giving people acknowledgement that you are important.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And we're willing to do it because you are you.
Yes, it's beautiful. And then I think, especially for managers, this can be a really, a meaningful conversation that he has with his team, where he can say, maybe he's a manager who's in the green quadrant. He's quite soft and gentle, really. And when he goes at home and he's at the pub, he's quite quiet. He's in the corner, but he's been put into a position where he has to tell people what to do and has to give them horrible feedback and, really difficult things, and he's not comfortable. And so everyone's a bit awkward because like maybe this person is, not doing it because doesn't come naturally to them. Suddenly they have this compassion for this person who's in a position which is asking them to be in a dominant state, which isn't their natural state. It can be a really like helpful moment for senior leadership, especially, to be like, oh, maybe I'm going against my natural tendencies. Can I find another way of leading that's more suited to
Absolutely.
my style?
I do hope you write up the workshop somewhere and send me the link, because that would be awesome to put in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll see if I can dig it out.
Absolutely. Elly, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for sharing this story with us.
Thank you. It was fun.
Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role, we'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.